Let me start by asking this, the sense that, we're gathering all this data. How do we translate data into different kinds of decisions that need to get made to really have a transformative effect? And so it seems to me there's this, and of course this is obviously potentially a role for geodesign, but how do we get, the intelligence that we're gathering to actually have more intelligent cities? We were talking before about what China is encountering right now with pollution. So we're gathering the data, but it isn't yet getting translated into different decisions. So any thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, that's the name of the game. Data by itself is pretty meaningless. Right. But if we can turn it into meaningful, thought-provoking insight, and we do that largely by taking the data and correlating that data with other data from that event, which could be geospatial data or a number of other real-time feeds that are occurring. We've done a lot of work, for instance, with NOAA to understand weather on an hourly basis and more precisely forecast the impact of storms. And we're even helping the utility in New York, Con Ed, to pre-position its trucks based on our hourly forecasting to minimize impact. But I think to really turn it into insight, it's all about leveraging the different technologies that we're talking about here, bringing it together, running real-time analysis. But as you collect data over time and you build up a good historical database, you can understand patterns, do historical analysis. With all this data, you can start to do stochastic modeling. So it's not a very precise answer.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Lingjun, what decisions have changed as a result of the geodesign work that you've been doing?
问你的问题是，就是说，你做出什么决策，就是通过你的这些地理分析，做出数据分析，做出什么样的决策？
它主要是那个为我们城市规划，然后还有就是下一步的那个城市发展这方面的，为规划，主要是
Mainly for the.
I don't know if you're actually. Can we turn this mic on? I'm not sure your mic is on yet.
Hello.
No?
Is this gone? No.
Well, okay.
Well.
Oh, there we go. Okay, great.
是为了城市规划和下一步的发展，是吧？
对对。
It's mainly for the urban planning and the next step in the future. That's the decision-making process.
And what has been the feedback back into design decisions? So there's feedback to decision-making, but how have you seen this work actually leading to smarter buildings, smarter planning decisions, kind of at the designer level? And is there a mechanism for that? Is there a way to get this information back into the hands of designers?
讲的是反馈如何工作，在整个这个地理设计的过程当中，
反馈
对 feedback
Yeah,
into the
this kind
system.
of, right.
Yeah, 就是你做任何 assess 就是评估或者设计，你总有一些反馈。这个反馈的信息是如何融合在你这个整个地理信息或者地理设计这个。
刚才有一张片子其实已经讲了，就是说我们基于那个地理信息系统，然后大量的数据支撑下，然后再加上地理分析、地理信息技术来做这个系统的分析，最后形成一些结果呢，可以给政府官员、给规划设计人员，甚至于给公众进行这个动态的反馈和交互参与这种模式。
Okay. Based on the analysis of the amounts of geographic information analysis, they could provide feedbacks to three kinds of people. One is the government side, the other one is professionals, designing and planning and design professionals, and the next is the general public. Three aspects of people that they could provide the feedback for.
Yeah, and not just designers, but architects. One example, I'm working with Tulane University, which is in New Orleans. It was impacted by Katrina, so it was that event that really caused this desire to try to do things differently. And one of the champions was the new dean they brought in to run the School of Architecture, 2/3 of that campus was underwater. It had billions of dollars worth of damage. But in recreating that school of architecture, he also wanted to recreate the discipline, to create it more T-shaped. So you've got the body of knowledge of architecture, but how does it relate to the sustainable architecture, to how do you leverage IT constructs? So there's a number of different disciplines he's putting in. So we've created a living lab in the School of Architecture as they retrofit that building. So we've got all the data streaming now in real time on everything in that building and its surrounding, on big flat screens that the students can work with. And then they are participating not only in the eco-charrette, but the retrofitting of that building and ultimately the campus, and seeing the impact of their architectural decisions play out as it's implemented. In Boston, I'm working with Boston University at more at the design level and working with Back Bay. So we've started something called a Smarter Neighborhood Project. Again, the university combining different departments to work together in a way they haven't. And we've implemented carbon monitoring. And that's affecting change because they're not only looking at how to redesign traffic flows to improve air quality in Back Bay, but they've uncovered a number of methane leaks from the gas utility that, by the way, has 10 times the carbon footprint of exhaust from a car. And why does the utility not fix them? Because it's too expensive and it's not that big of a danger. But when you multiply the number of carbon leaks or methane leaks across Boston, it's very significant. So that's driving change and putting pressure on the utilities to work with the community immediately to fix.
I mean, that really leads to another question I had, which is this democratization of data and information that's happening and the revealing of things that some people may not want revealed, like a utility or like the government. And so how do you deal with that? I mean, and have you encountered situations where there have been top-down decisions of we're not going to release data or we're not going to allow you to say things?
现在讲的是呢，就说数据的民主化过程。有些数据呢，就说可能领导阶层吧不太愿意、情愿公布给大众或者是设计人员。说是想问一下，怎么样处理这个现象？就是有些他数据他不想公开，有没有这种情况？
就是在那个地理设计的过程当中，是吧？
地理设计过程当中，并不是所有的数据这个政府都愿意公开。
有这种情况，因为从我们基础地理数据来说，就是我们平台原来搭的平台有3个层次嘛，叫基础地理信息平台，政务平台和这个社会平台3个层次的。第一个平台呢，就是实际上就是涉密的，就是相当于政府部门掌握的
基础。
对基础的那一部分，就是专业那个不对外公布的，但是这个要经过政府的审批，因为规划它是政策性非常强的嘛，必须要经过政府审批和同意以后，才能用于这个对外的这个发布啊、公开呀这种。
你说这是基础那一层，
对，
基础政务和公众是吧？
对。
There are 3 layers of data. How can I say it? Data exposure. The bottom line, what they call foundation. I don't know. I just translate literally foundation layer, and then there's a so-called governmental layer, and then public layer. There are certain data in the foundation layer that require some clearance, sort of, and the government would not like to expose that to the general public. There are indeed some information that government will withhold from public.
Have you had encounters like this?
Oh yeah,
Dave?
I mean, even in Boston. So we like to think that this country's pretty open, but when we expose the methane leaks, even IBM was saying, Dave, don't talk too much about this. So, if you want to quote me on what happened, remember my name is John Smith.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think. Again, the technology is so key here because transparency of what's happening is so fundamental to driving this transformation, this change, and the internet really helps us with that. You know, President Obama moved forward on some of the policies of transparency of data to the point that the project we're doing, I don't know if you've read about it, but IBM's leading a project for GSA, and we're starting with the 50 most energy-intensive buildings, including the White House this year. And they've made all the data of energy use in those buildings publicly available. You can find it out there. You know, in the IBM portfolio, which I started this whole mission with, I started with a 3 million square foot project. I'm up to 30 million square feet now. But the first thing I did was I provided visibility or visualization of, we've reduced a lot to compress our footprint, but we still have 1,700 addresses around the globe. So I provided a visualization of each of those buildings and campuses and some normalized energy usage, so that kind of like an MPG, if you will, for a car. There's nothing that drives change more than knowing your site that you're responsible for, your building, can be viewed by the head of the company. You do not want to be on the bottom of the list. So just that transparency alone has been so helpful.
Yeah, transformative, yeah.
Yeah.
What about the audience? Any questions, thoughts? Yes, right here. Go ahead.
Fantastic presentation. My name is Jeff Zeiss. One of the things that I'm aware of, I think you said 45% of the energy in the UK. I think worldwide, it's like 1/3 of our energy goes to buildings.
42%.
Yeah, that's
42%.
Yep.
right.
One of the issues that I've seen is what I would call non-technical issues. In other words, there's a lot of things you can do to a building technically that is simple. It's not rocket science. But there's things like split incentives of the classic in North America, where the building owner invests to improve the energy efficiency, but doesn't benefit the actual tenants' benefit. So there's institutional. I think Brand mentioned the toilet problem this morning. It's not directly related to energy usage, but there's institutional things like this that relate to zoning and other things that need to be changed to enable the technology to actually be used.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, is anything happening in that area?
I can go first.
Did you all hear the question up in the back? Is it pretty loud? Good. So, Dave, do you want to start?
So you're absolutely right. And that's why it's so important to involve people in the process as we move forward. But I do think transparency of the data is very helpful because you've got these models, and we've all been there, whether as students or some point in our life where we're not paying for the energy bill. It's just part of the monthly payment, maybe in the dorm or whatever. So, you know, whatever we do with the energy, we're going to pay the same amount every month. So if the heat's on and it's too hot, I just open the window of the room. Right, those type of behaviors. But, you know, what we're doing in a lot of campuses now, and this has been quite a movement, is visibility of which dorm uses the most energy and projects by students. And the more real-time visibility and the better visualization you can do, the more creative the students get in applying different ideas. So it's the model isn't such that they feel like if I don't close this window, I'm going to pay more. But what they want to be is the champion of the greenest dorm. So I think that's one idea of how we can kind of turn that around.
I needed some clarification on the question. You mentioned that first, the non-technical side of thing.
Yeah, institutional change to allow the technology to be better utilized.
OK， 就说他问一下，有没有结构上、组织结构上的，或者就和你们这个某些这个中国这些单位上某些各个单位的，这上面有些变化没有？就是有没有一些变化来促进这个地理信息系统的透明度啊等等这些地理设计的这个过程，组织结构上的变化。
有的，它是这样，在我们重庆呢，就是把地理信息中心啊这个机构设置到规划部门，然后呢，把这个和地理信息更新相关的一些，比如说这个档案馆啊，质检这些工作，全部都整合到一起。我幻灯里头提到那个机制建设，就是指的这方面。同时还有市政府还出台相应的管理办法，除了机构。 还有保障性的这些措施，都是为了使这个地理设计，使这个什么地理信息服务可以提升到地理设计服务。
放在规划部门。
对对。
One measure they implemented is to have the Geographic Information Service and Geodesign Service infrastructure to be implemented within the planning department, like in terms of data archiving, data storage, things they used to be elsewhere, but now it's embedded into the planning department. That's one thing to
对，
promote
他
process.
规划局市政府这边还给我们地理信息中心啊发这个规划设计的资质。
资质就是
对，就是有
是什么？
是规划设计的资质，
就是
那种
证书，
相当于可以做这个的许可证。
Oh, okay. And also the planning department, they issue sort of permit to do certain type of geodesign planning and design. They issue certain only to qualified agents. And one of the slides actually shows this process. They call it 叫机制是吧？机制上改变。Institutional, sort of like institutional change in one of the slides.
Good. Other questions, thoughts from the audience? Yes.
The historic preservationists talk a lot about this. Oh, by the way, I'm Dan Edenichek, University of Georgia. Yeah. Historic preservationists talk a lot about this idea of embodied energy. And so, you know, of course, they're arguing that we need to keep more of the existing building stock rather than building new buildings, even if they're LEED certified and so forth. So I'm just curious about experiences working with preservationists, working on historic buildings and that kind of thing.
Good question.
Yeah, that was a big concern in Back Bay because there's a lot of historic brownstones and we're trying to incorporate as much solar renewables into the grid. So certainly, you know, geodesign has helped us understand, you know, what's the opportunity, the placement, but yet preserve the beauty of the architecture in the neighborhood. But the other people say, you know, what do you do with these historic buildings? Isn't the best answer rip it down and build a brand new LEED certified? And I've worked on every project from you know, very old historic buildings, like the one in Tulane, it's 102 years old, Richardson Hall. We're going through a LEED Platinum certification. We're doing it by putting an extension on the back that isn't visible from the main campus. It's in an area that isn't really used by the campus that will incorporate some of the renewables and accommodate the newer technology and allow airflow. So there's ways like that, but the old building stock, in terms of its ability for retention, the thermal mass that you have in some of these big stone structures, there's some technology available to relate that to weather patterns, shifts, to understand what's the retention of that mass, so really when to you know, turn off air conditioning or heat, and that's very interesting. Time that to you know, time-based pricing from the utility. But I think our opportunity is equally as great. By the way, there's, you know, I really admire the LEED work, but there's a lot of LEED properties that are performing much poorer than a lot of historic properties. The LEED certification, in some cases, does not really focus on once it's operating. It's more in the design, construction, and so the ability to really understand in real time what's happening in that structure and make it efficient. In Richardson Hall, we put the sensor network in, connected it to, you can imagine, a 102-year-old conglomeration of everything in there from the past. But the first thing we picked up when we holistically looked at what was happening was the heat mix was way out of sync. And it was a decision made after Katrina to minimize mold growth, and nobody ever looked at it after that, so it just continued to run at a really high mix. Once we corrected that, the performance characteristics of the building was quite in line with a lot of the newer structures. So,
and this has been an issue in China too. There's been a lot of demolition of buildings. So
刚才问的问题是关于绿色建筑、节能建筑的认证的问题，就是它有一个标准叫 LEED，不知道清楚不清楚？就说就是什么样的建筑可以是被称为绿色建筑。然后刚才这个 Tom 也问一个问题，就是说在中国有很多拆迁，就这方面啊，有没有什么？就刚才是绿色建筑认证的有没有一些作为？这个呢是拆迁方面有些什么？
它是这样，绿色建筑认证是有的，但是拆迁目前和这个没有关联起来，
没有什么关系是吧？
对对。
Yes, there are some LEED certified process in China happening, but it has nothing to do with the demolition of some old buildings. These two parts are not connected yet. So.
I just want to add, I mean, I go back to your point about the barber and the landscaper. In our cities, the beautiful historic structures define our cities, inspire us, create natural gathering places. People identify with it. So anything we can do to preserve what we've got and prune around that with our technologies, as opposed to, you know, I don't know about you, but when I see these beautiful buildings go down, you know, it makes my heart ache a little bit. You know, you're losing a little bit of defines who we are or what the past has been that's gotten us there, right?